Come on, come on, come on, come on. It's good to be back. Good to be back. Come on. I think from Simon Silence. Do you think it's too early to start singing that song?
I'm not quite sure.
Why, Simon? Why? Don't you want to be in my gang after all?
Well, you are the leader, but I can't.
Anyway. Excuse me. Right, here we go. Car Radio returns this week in the form of Car-Boyz weekly podcast. No Paul Gadd in sight at all. And what a week it's been. Honda have got a new version of the Honda Jazz. Dacia are about to launch a new electric vehicle. I wonder if they've just bought some old milk floats from the bankrupt United Dairies. It's just a thought, Dacia. All that and more in the news. We've also got a great week for you in the quiz, despite the fact that my Dry January was very unsuccessful, and the distilleries in Scotland do not have to worry about going broke, I can tell you that. We see the triumphant return of the pub quiz on the show. And like a traditional pub quiz, I'll be asking the questions to a room full of drunks. No, really, we'll be inviting a lucky lad to come all the way down to see if he can walk off with a caravan, a speedboat, a hostess trolley, or a radio cassette player. It's all to play for.
Sounds excellent. I can't wait for that, Rich. Yes, the show returns once again to Electronic Ether this week. More questions answered in the bulging mailbag. We've got a corker of a classic car for you this week. This week it's a mid-engine Vauxhall. Yeah.
Isn't that just an accident, a mid-engine?
We'll find out. Stay tuned.
Oh, wow.
And we get lost down some of the strange roads in a bid to find the ultimate driving road in Lost Highways. Now, unlike an Austin Rover or an Alfa, this show will not break down you either physically or emotionally, whereas as reliable as the prospect of gas after extra hot Vindaloo curry. So, stay tuned for all of this and more. I'm Simon Sinjuan, and life, it's the name of the game, and I want to play the game with you. Life can be terribly tame if you won't play the game with two.
Good game. He's from as well as you, isn't he?
It's Edmonton, yeah.
Is Edmonton, I should say. Is there a picture of him in the town square? Like
no.
A statue. There should be a statue.
There should be.
Doing his famous classic 1970s silhouette, which was almost the hand on the head. Was it the Thinker? It was almost,
yes, that's the one.
It was the Thinker statue, and I can't remember the sculptor. But yes, it's filthy, those lyrics. If you analyse that, you never get away with it now. Life is the name of the game. I want to play the game with you. Life can be terribly tame if you don't play the game with two. I mean, he's referring to sex, but there you go. Different times. I think he was married about 14 times. And I'm Richard Green, and at the Copacabana.
Copacabana.
The hottest spot north of Havana. Hey, yeah. At the Copacabana, music and passion, whoa, all of the fashion at the Copa. They feel in love. Good old Barry Manilow. Stayed in the closet for more than half a century. We all knew Barry. Why come out so late? That's what I don't. Him and Phil Schofield. We knew.
Yes.
Anyway, this is
Car-Boyz.
Now, it is time for my weekly rant, and this week I'm going to pose a question on my weekly rant. It's not really a rant, but more of a warning. I shall be the harbinger of doom, a soothsayer of truth, an all-round clever clogs, if you like. The question I'm posing this week is, are two big car manufacturing countries on their uppers? Is it going to be goodbye to the car production for the Japanese and the Germans? Are the days of the dominance by the Teutonic and Rising Sun car manufacturers finally over? Is it Auf Wiedersehen and sayonara to BMW, Mercedes, Toyota and Honda? Well, at the end of last year, Mercedes-Benz owner Daimler, or as we say in England, Daimler, and Volkswagen's Audi brand announced more than 20,000 job losses. The auto industry is in the midst of a far-reaching upheaval, said Volkswagen chief and also part-time Nazi impersonator, executive Herbert Dice. Meanwhile, Ralph Kalmbach, who advises German car makers, said, "No one will survive in the forms they exist today." That I've just realised how awful that sounds in a German accent. I'll say it in an English accent. It's slightly better. No one will survive in the form they exist today. I'm hoping he's referring to car brands
Yes.
and not ethnic minorities. The enormous expense of transformation, he added, has left the engine of the country's post-war Wirtschaftswunder, or economic miracle, facing the biggest crisis since the invention of the automobile by Carl Benz more than a century ago. It's estimated that the German car industry, which employs more than 800,000 people and supports a further 2 million in the wider economy, will be forced to plough some 40 billion into battery-powered technologies over the next 3 years. Daimler chief executive Ola Kalenos has confirmed the car maker would continue to post lower profits until 2022. Now, meanwhile, we go over to the other side of the world, the Far East. In Japan, this is also on the decline. When was the last time you came out, anything that came out of Japan was truly and globally innovative? You need to go back to the 1980s at least. Everything since then has been about refinement. The golden years have turned steady now, and through the lens of a rapidly changing automotive world, that river of car innovation has now turned to a trickle. Despite this, Japan is still ranked in the top 3 global economies. It's one of the largest filers of patents in the world and the largest producer of electronic goods globally. It's also the 3rd largest automotive manufacturer, behind only China and the US. Whereas the US has Tesla, Korea has Hyundai, there is little in the way of risk-taking or innovation from Japan. Embarrassingly, Honda, Lexus, Mitsubishi, Nissan, Subaru, Suzuki all failed to build new qualifying models for the recent World Car Awards of the Year, which is independently rated the #1 automotive prize on the planet. And although Germany has 4 contenders in the top 10, Mercedes CLA, GLB, plus Volkswagen's new Golf and T-Cross, South Korea has a credible 3, the Hyundai Sonata, Kia's Soul EV, and Telluride. Japan's got only 2, Mazda 3 and CX-30. Britain's got 1, the new Range Rover Evoque. So despite the failures of the Germans and the Japanese, the Brits are doing even worse. It makes you wonder who actually did win the Second World War. Therefore, what are the reasons behind the looks of the decline of the 2 of the world's biggest car producers? Well, it's probably not quite as bad as you think. It's down to 2 factors. Firstly, cars are literally being built too well. I shouldn't say that too loudly. I should whisper that. 20 years ago, a 20-year-old car was a bucket of rust. So a car in the year 2000 from 1980 was awful. Think about how awful that car looked. Now think a car built in the year 2000 can be a rust-free problem machine. Cars are being better built, hence people are waiting longer till they buy a new car, meaning car production has reduced. Coupled to this is the way we own cars has changed. We are leasing, not buying. We are sometimes just using taxi hailing services such as Uber. The idea of owning a car is not seen as such a desirable attribute as it was 20 years ago, especially amongst the environmentally conscious youth. They don't feel the need for speed. They're too busy recycling and bumping uglies via Tinder or Grindr. Then there's the rise of the EV, or the electric vehicle, that may be causing people to buy less automobiles. They need less maintenance, and conversely, they are used more sparingly. But there is an elephant in the room, and that elephant also hails from the Far East, from the land of the morning calm. South Korea's automobile industry, it was new one on me as well. South Korea's automobile industry is now the 5th largest producer of passenger cars in the world, the 5th. The car industry accounts for 13% of manufacturing output in the country, and for decades, car manufacturing has grown exponentially and has also been an indicator of the country's economic growth. Hyundai and Kia give buyers a 7-year warranty on all new cars in the UK, which is 3 better than Honda. They sell cars with all, and I mean all options, which is far better than BMW. So the cars look good, they are reliable, and they come with all the options. Not surprisingly, they've taken a massive bite out of the global car market. Remember, the 5th largest producer of cars on the planet. And to misquote the old Daewoo advert, who can take on the Germans and the Japanese at their own game and win? That'd be the Koreans.
It's they can't really compete on anything else. They can't really compete on style, so they have to be competing on better built cars. Mm-hmm. So if you remember back in the days when I think it was Proton, which is Malaysian,
yes,
they had something like a 10-year anti-corrosion warranty on their cars. So they can't really compete on anything else, and that's kind of how we got to where we are today. Japanese cars really weren't that stylish, so they had to compete on reliability. So,
I mean, I know. I said the BMW. I mean, if you take that look wise, the new Korean cars coming out, things like the Genesis and certainly
yeah,
the Kia Stinger, are absolutely gorgeous cars. And if they had the BMW, Mercedes, or even Aston Martin badge on, you'd be going, "Oh, I want one
yeah,
of those."
yeah.
I would say, and almost as that's happening, as they're still reliable, they're becoming more stylish. We all know BMW are getting less reliable. I think the 1 Series is the most unreliable car in the
It
UK.
is, yes.
Which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You bought you. I remember my father said, because he was always a Ford man, and he said, "Well, I like BMW too expensive. I can't afford to buy one." He said, "Mind you, I do like the shut lines on a BMW because you could never get anything in there.
Yes.
Maybe a 50p would go between the door and the wing." Whereas, let's face it, on a Ford, you could get your whole hand in there almost. It wasn't
a wad of money.
Yes. Yeah, I think you could get the £3 coins. Right. Are you ready for some news?
Yes, please. And first off, this week in Now You Ask Us news, the UK government has invited members of the public, that's me, you, and some of the other people listening to the show, to have their say on their plans to end the sales of new petrol, diesel, and hybrid cars and vans by 2035 or earlier as part of open consultation. Prime Minister, man with the hair, Boris Johnson, announced the plans in February as part of an initiative for the UK to reach a net zero carbon emissions by 2050. The government wants to bring forward that ban on the sale of petrol, diesel engine vehicles from 2040 to 2035 or earlier, if a faster transition appears feasible. There he goes with this transition thing. And expand
Hey, Simon, we're open to everything here.
No, I'm talking about more Europe, not anything else.
Not people transitioning, sorry. We're very LGBTQ.
We are
XYZ.
friendly. We are
friendly.
very friendly.
Yeah.
And expanded to include all non-zero emission cars and vans. That means the ban would include hybrids and plug-in hybrids, which will all have to be allowed under the original plans. The proposals have a mixed response from sectors of the motor industry, with Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders calling them extremely concerning. And Ford's European boss, Stuart Rowley, says they were not helpful. The proposals have now been put to open consultation, with the public given until the quarter to midnight on Friday, the 29th of May, to provide their input.
Specific, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you want to go and find out where you can find out more?
Yes, please.
It's www.gov.uk/government/consultations.
Excellent. Yes. I think I encourage everybody to get it, especially if you do live in the UK. That's how Boris Johnson announced it. He went, it was that sort of sound he made. This makes absolutely no sense at all. It's too soon. Give us. I'm serious. You need to give us 50 years at least.
Yeah.
2035 is too soon. We have not got the capacity to produce electric power stations. And as I said to my friend, who is the only doctor I know, he has a doctor in chemistry, and I said, well, why don't we just run our cars on LPG? He went, these systems to put that in are going to take decades. You are not going to do that overnight. In the same way that the roads were built by the government, and then the car manufacturers came along and went, oh, you've built nice roads, let's build some nice cars. The car manufacturers didn't make the cars, and then the government went, for bloody hell, we need to get some roads. Quick, Charlie, get some Irish fellas over there and just start laying this tarmac. I mean, not to be racist, but that did happen for about the first 20th century. I think my Irish relatives all probably worked on it. They didn't. The best is, this is my favourite. They didn't ask the public. They didn't ask the RAC or the AA. They didn't ask the car industry. They didn't ask the Green campaigners and the environmentalists. Every single person hates this. So you could have the guy that owns a Rolls-Royce dealership sitting next to a Green campaigner, and they both have the same agreement.
Yes.
This does not work. So Get on the internet. It's www.government.uk/government/consultations. It's on there, and you can have your say. If you don't know what to say, just say a little bit too soon. How about 2070 as the target? Because the sea levels are rising, and that's all still going to happen whether we do this or not. But why don't you give us a breathing chance so we don't go off half-cocked and end up with something that's not going to work? And the day after the 1st of January 2035, we all have to go back to driving petrol cars because this won't work. Anyway, just my thoughts. And this could give you a humour news. A government trial is to start next month to allow electric cars to charge their engines wirelessly. Now, I read this story and it said, as we do with iPhones, and I went, I've only just discovered we could do it with iPhones.
Did you not know this?
No. I saw something at work. I'm working for some people from the Far East, and I saw this thing. Well, what's that? And they said, it's for charging a mobile phone. It looked like something you could heat up.
A pad.
Yeah, look, I'll put some beans on there. So it's a new one at me. Have you got one of these things?
I've got one, and I was in Finland last year, and in their restaurants, like their fast food restaurants, they've got charging stations all over the place, all over on the tables. So you just put your phone down and it charges.
I like it, but wait for this. Now, the dream is for these pads to be buried underneath where you park, or just stop briefly. 3 hours? Homework, supermarkets and drive-thrus, and even traffic lights. Now, it's been a potential to make a charging a non-event, says Dr. Neil Kinnear, no relation to Roy, head of behavioural science at the UK's TRL Research Laboratory, which has overseen a range of EV charging trials. Wasn't TRL like a programme for kids on MTV about?
I think it was, yeah.
The new trial scheme that involves laying 5 pads outside Nottingham railway station to wirelessly charge 10 electric taxis, 5 LEV CTX black cabs, and 5 Nissan e-cars. Yes, they won't be lasting long outside Shottingham railway station, believe me. They'll be big enough. Now, the cabbies don't have to get out. They just shuffle on the queue, continuing to charge at the rate of 11 kilowatts at the next pad along. So that sounds quite a good idea. You're waiting there anyway. Induction charging is fairly simple. An oscillating magnetic field in the charge pad is picked up at the same frequency in the vehicle receiver that starts the charging process. Now, those developing the technology, led by US-based Vericity, claim it is both safe and almost as efficient as plugging in, even when the receiver is attached to a high-riding SUV. Yeah. Now, you shouldn't live beneath high-wire pylons because you'll get the brain cancer, don't you? Isn't this the same thing?
I don't know, but I'd also think if you walk past it, your phone would probably charge as well.
You just leave your iPhone there.
Just stand next to it.
And you'd sit in the... Or is the poor driver going to slowly cook in the taxi?
Like a microwave.
I feel a bit ill every time I go and charge up. Yes, the doctor has had a scan of you, and your legs done medium well. That's the only thing that worries me with these things. I'm not a massive fan of the Wi-Fi being absolutely everywhere, but
yeah, I don't think that's going to work.
He says, wearing his tinfoil
hat.
Yes, they can't read my brain signals. Do you want some help with the next one?
Go on, you do it then.
Simon's going to read the next story, and in da 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 coronavirus news.
The Beijing Motor Show, the Beijing with chicken chow mein in April, will be postponed in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak. An official announcement has confirmed. In a statement posted in the event's website, the show's organisers said, to ensure the health and safety of exhibitors and participants, we, on behalf of the organising committee of the 16th, that is the 16th Beijing International Automobile Exhibition, brackets Auto China 2020, have decided to postpone the event. This is the latest move, which follows the postponement of the Formula One race in Shanghai and the cancelled Mobile World Congress Technology Show in Barcelona. With the travel bans in place, the international flights on hold, and the streets of Beijing being regularly treated with chemicals in an attempt to halt the spread of the virus, the decision makes sense. Postponement of the show will be a blow to the Chinese car industry that's been struggling to recover from 2 successive market drops in both 2018 and 19. So, avoid it if you can.
Yes, I think yes. I would say that when this story was being written, the story was being changed. That nothing's, and now I think it's got worse.
Yes.
Things have got worse again, and they're halting car production. They're having meetings remotely. You are not going to feel the effects of this now, but you're going to feel it within 12 months.
Probably, yeah.
Because I remember the Beijing Olympics, the Summer Olympics of 2008. They stopped a lot of manufacturing in Beijing because the air was so badly polluted that people running outside in the marathon and other field sports were being affected. And I then worked in shopping television that Christmas, and we had no shopping stuff to sell. We had no Christmas decorations.
No cheap stuff from China.
We had now cheap stuff from China to flog to unsuspecting viewers. So wait here and see. But I think the thing is going to get. It looks like it's now going to get worse before it's going to get better, and they're now saying it is officially a pandemic. So we were covering a story somewhere else I work where parts of Italy are being shut down, in particular Milan.
Yeah.
So maybe it would just be you and me doing this podcast as the rest of the world descends into chaos
about cars that no one will drive.
Yeah, because nobody's going to be around. Okay, and finally, in happier news, it goes like a scalded cat off a hot plate. British sports car manufacturer Apex will reveal a new Hyper EV at the the Geneva Motor Show. I should say the Electric Motor Show, the Geneva Motor Show. Do you like that music? That was great underneath. The Geneva Motor Show next month. The firm, which launched the 400 brake horsepower AP1 as its debut model in 2019, claims the all-electric AP0. Do you see what they did there? Which weighs 1,200 kilograms, will be significantly lower than the majority of electric sports cars, thanks to the use of pure carbon fiber tub at its core. So it's going to be lighter. Performance figures are unconfirmed, but Apex claims the AP0 will offer a rapid acceleration, as well as superior agility, outstanding handling, and exceptional cornering ability. The AP1 can crack the 0 to 60 sprint in well under 3 seconds. Top speed, 174. Like the AP1, the AP0 is expected to be mainly used for track, the same vein as the combustion-fueled rivals, such as the Radical Rapture, KTM Expo, which looks amazing, and, of course, that classic now, I think we can fairly say, Aerial Atom. A preview sketch gives away but it appears the AP0 will sport a heavily angled front end, bonnet-mounted mirrors, and a centrally mounted bonnet-mounted mirrors. That's like my grandfather's helmet Hunter. Bonnet-mounted mirrors and a centrally mounted shark's fin-style carbon wing. No idea what it's going to be like, but as Tom Cruise would say, I feel the need for speed. Well, speed and young men. Allegedly. Electric cars are all or nothing. That's what's going to be the success of this car. It reminds me of a Lotus. It looks like a Lotus Solis.
Does look like Lotus. It does look like the KTM as well, the Expo.
Ooh, yes.
And will look like the car we're going to talk about in the classic car feature coming up.
Of course. Meanwhile, yes, as we're talking about really light sports cars from we will be talking about that next. I just need to find some music for it. Here we go. Oh no, hang on. No, I'm on the wrong page. No, that was the right music. It was the right music, but the wrong feature. Hang on. No. I've messed this up completely.
It's very Hank Marvin.
Hang on. That's a lovely piece of music, but what we want is this. No, we don't want that either. It's all going pear-shaped today.
Sack the production team.
You know what? You just can't get the staff. It was going all so well as well. Hang on. Let's forget that ever happened. How about a bit of this?
That's what I want. Bit of jazz club.
Oh yeah. All right, lads, enough. That's it. Thank you. No. There you go. Off you go.
Oh dear. So at the top of the show, we did talk about the mid-engine Vauxhall, which you went, that couldn't happen. But actually, there was one. The Vauxhall VX220 was the mid-engine Targa top two-seater sports car, which was actually introduced in July 2000 and was built in both right-hand drive and left-hand drive versions for their parent company, which is Opel, and it was made in the Lotus car plant in Norfolk, if you didn't know. Norfolk obviously being a place in England for those of us internationally that are listening to the show. Sold as the Vauxhall VX220 in the UK and the Opel Speedster in Europe, it shared much in common with the Lotus Elise, hence why it's very similar in style. Although Opel claimed that few parts were interchangeable. Its history owed much to the changes in the European crash safety regulations of 2000, when Lotus needed to replace their original Elise. In October 1999, they struck a deal with GM in order to have sufficient investment for a new car, and as part of the deal, Lotus agreed to develop and produce the VX220 on the Series 2 Elise chassis. The first Speedster, which is the Opel version of it, concept car, was shown in the 1999 Geneva Motor Show. Whilst the new Elise would use a 1.8 litre Toyota engine, which was similar to that found in the Toyota Celica, the VX220 was designed to use a 2.2 litre GM Ecotec engine from the Astra. Neither engine had been used in the original Elise, which was fitted with a 1.8 litre awful engine, Rover K Series engine.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the one awful. The head always goes.
And overheats, yes.
Yeah.
In order to accommodate the production of new cars, Lotus expanded its factory to a capacity of 10,000 cars, with around 3,500 slots dedicated to the production. The car utilises an aluminium chassis tub that weighs only 72 kilos, and also features bodywork made entirely of glass reinforced plastic. The entire car, though, itself weighs only 875 kilos, which made it 100 kilos lighter than similar-sized Toyota MR2. At launch, the aluminium alloy 2.2 litre engine produced 145 bhp, making it considerably more powerful than the Elise was when it was launched. As an answer to calls for more power to this version, they introduced a new 2-litre turbocharged version of the Ecotec engine, which produced 200 bhp, a tasty 200 bhp, but also weighed slightly more at 930 kilos. The turbo version was able to reach a top speed of 150 miles an hour and accelerate from 0 to 100k, which is 62 miles an hour, in 4.7 seconds. And the car was hailed as by the Motor Press as one of the great driving cars and won several accolades. The 2.2 normally aspirated engine was considered the easier to drive of the two than of the standard variants. And some journalists claim that actually it was probably better value than the Lotus was. Production ended in July 2005 with no direct successor, and the final production number of the car was only 7,207 cars, which does make this relatively rare, but not too rare. What do you look for? Well, inspecting panel gaps carefully to look for repairs, because a cracked front clam and headlamps may be enough for a car to be written off. So Cat D and Cat C cases need not to be put you off if the damage was limited and properly repaired. The condition of that crash box at the front of the chassis is crucial. Paint bubbling is usually an indication of poor repairs, not usually a case of poor repairs. It's a common issue, especially around the boot lid, spoiler and doors, and requires professional baking to be repainted to prevent it from reoccurring. I looked today online and found an unmolested 2001 model in red with 68k on the clock in Derbyshire, and you could pick that up for £12,000, which is not bad for a 150 mile an hour two-seater sports car.
They have kept their value though, haven't they? They've not. I mean, you're not down to sort of sub £5,000.
Well, the market for these dipped a few years ago. I think we missed the boat on that. It was about 2 years ago. They had dropped down to about, I think it was about 7,500 on that.
So they're slowly
now.
Pull back up. The only, a lovely, scary driving position. It's like the fact your bum is so close to the ground. The only thing I can say, it's really like driving a Lotus 7.
Yes.
Or a Caterham or a Westfield. It's like really that low. So any speed you're going to go at, it's going to feel incredibly insane anyway.
Seat of your pants driving.
Yes, definitely. So it's definitely a weekend car. I remember the inside of the Vauxhall was very aluminium, very bare. Yes. I thought that was very cool. Although I remember looking into the mid-engine of one of these things, and just it looked like a lot of tin foil in there.
It might have been. It was preempting the days of wireless charging.
Right, yes.
It was probably to get rid of all that heat that the
Yes,
engines
it did
generate.
look like a lot of tinfoil. I was like, are they cooking a turkey? It's a great looking car. I thought it was actually superior to the Lotus. It just looked better. It was really angled. And yeah, I can remember them being very popular early noughties, and every
Yeah.
sort of stockbroker or advertising idiot near me seemed to be bombing around in one in the weekends.
But good little cars. There you go. That's our classic for this week.
Fantastic, thanks. So I've just got to have a spare 12,000.
Yes,
and I can have one.
But it will go up in value.
Is the body's aluminium or the bodywork was fiberglass?
Fiberglass, yeah. Plastic reinforced.
Yeah. So you will get that patina of cracking as you see on hit cars. Right now, I think I've got the right music. Let's try some Lost Highways. Sort of. It needs Right, now this feature where listeners email in and give us their favourite roads and the reason they love them. It could be a quiet coastal road that leads down to the sea. Alternatively, it could be a straight 2-lane blacktop that leads to infinity and invites you to gun the pedal to the metal. Whatever your poison, let us know. Let us know your perfect driving road here at Car-Boyz. Put my false teeth back in. We've got an email. You can email the show. It's car-boys@outlook.com. Car-boys, boys with a Z, at outlook.com. And catch us on Facebook at car-boys with a Z at Car-Boys with 4 Zs. We're going to Kansas to start off with. We're going to the Midwest. Dorothy from Kansas writes to us and says, "There's no place like home. There's no place like home." No, she doesn't. She's emailed me.
Yellow Brick Road.
She says, I don't know, turn it to Mickey Mouse then. She said, where are my amphetamines? No, that was another point in her life. No, she emailed the podcast and says she's a Midwest girl from Topeka. And she says one of her favourite driving roads is the Glacial Hills in eastern Kansas, known as the Scenic Byway. From Leavenworth, just outside Kansas City, she goes on to say, go north through Atchison, Troy, and White Cloud. You'll see...
Are they a tribute band of some variety?
Atchison, Troy, and White Cloud. White Cloud is the First Nations people. I like soft rock. You come, we play live. Back to 76, we support the Eagles live in concert at Hollywood Bowl. Okay, you'll see forested bluffs and the stunning Missouri River views along the 63-mile Glacial Scenic Hills Byway. It's designated as the official route of the Lewis and Clark Historical Trail. And then you'll hit Atchison, which is a graceful bluff-top town with charms and grand 19th century homes lining steep brick streets. The road hugs the swift-flowing Missouri River and can be very twisty and turny at times. That's the road, not the river. It's called the Glacial Hills because glaciers once covered the northeast corner of Kansas, and when they receded north, they left behind a unique scenic landscape of rolling wooded hills, valleys, clear running streams. Watch out for the pink boulders, or LBGT boulders. They are made of Sioux quartzite scraped from the mountains of Minnesota and left there by the glaciers. Now, you go along north, along the K7, not the K9, and you can see over the spectacular rolling hills to Troy, the byway's northern end in White Cloud. Climb the gravel road up the bluff to take in a stunning view of the mighty Missouri River. I think we've lost the First Nation audience, Simon. I just to warn you. I think the podcast might be going down. Our First Nation people are out of here. At the 4-state lookout. This is the 4-state lookout. On a clear day, you can see Kansas, Missouri or Missouri, Nebraska, and Iowa. So it sounds only about 63 miles, but it sounds like a nice country drive. You do that in a day. I don't know anything about it. I had to have a look on the map where Kansas was. It pretty much is in the middle of America. So me guessing Donald Trump's audience. You've got something. Oh, no, you haven't got anything close to home. It's still far away?
Yes, it is far away. Louis Three Chords, I assume that's what they can play, writes for us from Manchester, says he loves the show, thank you very much. Says one of his favourite roads is in Namibia. He's been working down there and is a geologist in the mining industry, known officially as the C34, which wasn't a tape that you could buy in the shops. That was C60.
Yeah.
The Skeletal Coast Road is one of the most stunning drives in the world. The surface of this road is sand and salt and located along Namibia's haunting barren skeleton coast in the country's northwest. The sense of isolation is overpowering. The road is 460 kilometres long. It runs from the old German colonial town of
Good luck.
Swakopmund.
Why not?
Of the tiny settlement of Terrace Bay. Is that what you're trying to think of? I couldn't do Terrace Bay. The road takes you through the desert area, almost completely empty for the occasional shipwreck embedded in the sand. The road along the coast is a salt road, which is smoother than asphalt road, and very nice to drive on. But there is a mist from the ocean. The road gets very slippery, a bit like black ice. The first 200 kilometres are salt and sand, and the last 260 are on gravel surfaces. So you can pretend to be like a rally driver.
I was going to say, there's a lot of salt here. Remind me never to go down to Namibia in Africa and buy a car.
Yeah, your car might fall apart by the end of it.
Absolutely, yeah. Rusted out down in Namibia. I can't say that the second car market must be very small.
The road still remains an adrenaline-pumping journey. It's definitely not for the faint-hearted. You are requested to drive even in daylight using your headlights to alert oncoming vehicles of your presence. Mirage effects along the coast is common. Following a heavy mist, the salt roads become very slippery. Please drive accordingly, he says. In an unlikely event of the raining, you are advised not to make use of the road due to its unique location passing through the remote areas. It is important when driving on these conditions to be prepared. There is little traction on the surface, even for 4x4s. Proper preparation is essential to having a safe, enjoyable trip on this road. So we like roads that kind of are a bit hairy.
Yeah, that sounds like it's really hairy, doesn't it? But quite good fun. And I'm guessing we're saying you need a 4x4, and you probably need some of those the steel tracks that you have to put down. Usually carry them out on the top of the car.
Yes, and preferably a car made of plastic as well.
Yes, definitely, that'd help. And a spade and some water, just in case you get stuck out there, because it's not called the Skeleton Coast for nothing. Right, that's Lost Highways. If you want to get in touch with the show and tell us your favourite driving road, we are on Facebook. We're on the email at Car-Boyz at car-boys, boys with a Z at outlook.com. Facebook us, car-boys with a Z at Car-Boyz with 4 Zs on the end. The podcast continues on Twitter, car-boys with a Z at car_boys with a Z. And we're also Instagramming.
We are Instagramming at car_boys with 3 Zs.
I'm going to have to underscore boys or hyphen boys.
It won't allow you to do hyphen. It's
underscore.
Yeah. For some reason, I might like underscore boys.
3 Zs.
Okay. Yes.
It's good. I'm doing, my, and that's Instagram, which I don't know. I thought, is this people posting pictures of their
cars? Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, we post pictures of cars and people comment on it.
Okay, that's all we do.
Yes.
Oh no, it's Twitter that's the filthy one, isn't it?
That's the one.
Somebody said
Snapchat.
Snapchat's really filthy. Fantastic. Make sure the kids don't have access to that. It's time for the letters page. We need some. Do you know what?
Readers' wives.
Yeah. We don't need some readers' wives. We really don't. Good grief. Always very hairy, I seem to remember. Well, we need some music for the letters page. We need.
Do we have any?
No. I need to think about. I reckon sort of. Do you remember John Williams used to do the Cantina, which was the song from The Deer Hunter?
Oh yeah.
It's always used in the BBC children's show. Is it Take Heart? Tony Hart's art show. And
like Tony Hart. Used to wear a cravat.
Yeah, and now he used to go. And now it's time for the gallery. And you that's right. And the music from The Deer Hunter would come on, and Christopher Walken would be trying to show. No, then you would get kids paintings, and here we've got Chloe from
and
Seven Oaks. Morph would, he wouldn't be in this bit, but he would be on the show. And you would get the pictures and, Chloe from Seven Oaks, and it would look like a pile of crap. But, the presenter would still say, "Oh, it's lovely. Isn't it lovely? Isn't it fantastic what you've done?" Was it Hart? Tony Hart. Tony.
Yeah.
And he was the only man on British television that had a ascot as well. He always wore an ascot.
He did.
Of course. It was 1969.
We are reminiscent about British TV programmes, but then there was Magpie on the other side as well, wasn't there?
Oh, yes. Wasn't that presented by Mark Bolan?
I thought it was a guy that looked like Brian May.
Oh, yes. Mark Bolan, Brian May as presenter of
Mick Robinson?
Mick Robinson, who's a guy who used to work for my dad called Barry, went to school with him. The claim to fame. So we do need some music for this. Maybe the listeners could possibly
suggest
what we should have. I'm thinking light Spanish guitar, obviously royalty free for cost purposes.
Yes.
Sort of, Oh, hang on. Let's get the, I don't.
Do a bit of Spanish guitar. Go on.
Maybe less than that. I think classical Spanish guitar. Anyway, that's the point. We don't have any music. So what's our first letter?
Our first letter is from Stephen from Doncaster. He writes to us and he says he has a 1994 Ford Fiesta, loves the car, but it's on its last legs.
Really?
He hasn't got too much rust, which is unusual, but it's done almost 180,000 miles on the clock. Is it worth him changing the cam belt, or should he just buy a new car? The cam belt hasn't been changed for more than 80,000 miles.
Okay.
I'm guessing, we'll come to the picture in a minute.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that this is going to be one of the CVH engines. This is a bit technical. One of the CVH engines, because they also had what was called a HCS engine, which was chain driven rather than timing belt. Right. Which is why you always used to see Rassley Fiestas, because they were sort of the chain driven engines, which date back from like the 60s. They just put fuel injection on it. So I'm guessing this is a CVH engine.
Right.
What would you say about this? I would say on those engines, they were often linked. The time belt was often linked with the water pump as well.
Now, hang on. Let me get this right. From my memory, if petrol engine stops, it's going to be the timing belt goes on in a petrol engine. It is a catastrophic failure.
Yes.
The
valves collide into the pistons.
It's a rebuild. It's on that car, which is, let's face it, not worth 200 quid. That is a complete failure on that engine. But if it's diesel, doesn't it just sort of stop?
Possibly, I don't know. If anyone's got any technical knowledge, that's
a friend of mine said they had a diesel Escort and the timing and the cam belt went, and it just sort of went and stopped, and then they just had to go and put a new cam belt on and carry on. Whereas I know if it goes into petrol, it's a complete write-off.
Yeah.
So the car's worthless. You've got to balance the cost of buying a new car of a similar vintage or one that works, which, let's say £1,000 to get something. Because, to be honest, it's now entering classic car territory.
Yes.
Because it's 26 years old. Changing the cam belt will cost you about £300 to £400.
Yeah.
But it's not much to start. If he's got 80,000 miles, I think you've done rather well. Now, that's saying that it is a cam belt driven and hasn't got a timing chain on it. But your garage will know this. This car is definitely not suffering depreciation. I would actually say, if he keeps in good nick, and we're not sure he is, looking at this picture that we've been sent. If you are looking at the Facebook page, it is I'll describe it for the audience who aren't looking at this picture. This car is parked in a hedge on a grass verge. It has no wheel covers. The alloys are black. They look like they've been robbed off another car. The paintwork is looking slightly faded.
Bonnet looks like it's got some kind of paint peel on that.
Yes, just a tad. So I wouldn't say it's in showroom condition. But that being said, if it works, it gets you from A to B. It is doing the function of a car. I actually prefer the look of these. I don't like the 4-door. I had the 2-door. But I prefer the look of these than the next generation Fiesta, which look like a jelly mold. I hate the look of that. That's not a bad looking car. They do rust around the wheel arches, particularly, and that hasn't got any rust. So
unusual.
Maybe I'm thinking maybe it is worth a bit more than 200 quid, but it just needs a bit of love throwing at it. But if he doesn't care about that, 180 on the clock, I think is amazing.
Impressive.
Just go and get the cam belt changed. Just go and do it. Bite the bullet.
And get yourself some alloys while you're at it.
Yeah, come on. Or at least some wheel trims.
Yes.
Some nice looking wheel trims. And my advice, if you are going to put wheel trims on, is cable ties.
Yes.
Because otherwise you will be running around all over the place trying to find your wheel covers, as I used to be. I once went to see my girlfriend in Nottingham, and I went over a bump and I lost one of my wheel trims.
Did it go past you, or did it?
I didn't realise till I got to her house. So on the way back, I had a look and I found it next to a tree. Somebody propped it up.
Yeah.
I love British people. They do that. If you see something like, oh, we'll miss that wheel trim, and just because it's not worth anything, and I said, propped it up. I went, got my wheel trim back, popped it back on, and on I went. So cable ties for wheel trims is the point of the show. Last week, I really messed up. Charlene wrote to us from Gateshead, and she said, obviously, she's never been to me. Sorry, old Jake. But she'd been to California, and she's seen things a woman's not supposed to see. What a dreadful song. No, she's about to buy a second-hand car for commuting to work. She has got a 1 litre. She wants a 1.6 petrol. How does she calculate the road tax? I managed to bugger this up completely with the wrong information last week. So I'm going to make it clearer. I cut and paste the wrong graph. So your VD band, your vehicle excise duty, goes from A through to M. Now, forget about what you pay brand new, because the first rate you pay a lot more than if you pay second-hand. So we're going to specifically tailor this to people that listen to this show. If you listen to this show and you buy a brand new car, I'm actually really surprised. I think people who listen to this show don't buy brand new cars.
Exactly.
So it goes from A through to M. It starts off, and it's all about carbon dioxide emissions per kilogram. So up to 100 grams, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's in A, paying nothing, right up to M, which is over 255 grams. That's 570. So A is nothing, B £20 as we start to go up, C £30, D 125, E 145, F 160, G 200, H 235, and it's, to remind you, this isn't the specific size of the engine. This is, which is unfortunate. That would be easy to work out.
Yeah.
This is the emissions that are coming out the back. So you could have a 3 litre engine that's not going to get the same amount of cut of duty as a 2 litre engine if it is a lot more environmentally friendly and produce less carbon dioxide. Where was I? H, £235. I, £260. J, 300. K, 325. L, 550. Wait, M is the worst. 570. I think the car I want is going to be one of those two numbers, which I'm not sure warrants it. But anyway, the example is A, 1.4. This is for Charlene. I'm going to make it clearer now. So if you buy a 1.4, 2008 Honda Jazz, it's in E, that's £130 a year. If you bought B, the 1.8 2010 Audi A4, that's in H, 235. If you have a lot of money and you decide to go electric, BMW i3 electric band A is free. Hyundai Genesis, this is the car I want, 3.8i band L, £555.
The Peter Gabriel effect on Genesis.
On Genesis. Which means if you own that car for 10 years, in theory, you're going to spend £5,000 in excise duty. But then if you own the Honda Jazz for 10 years, you're going to spend £1,300 in excise duty. So horses for courses. My opinion, it is a stupid tax. If you've got a small hybrid car, as my friend does, he pays £30 a year. He drives in excess of 50,000 miles. Or like me, you've got a car that incurs a £300 road fund license, and I drive less than 10,000. So he is doing far more worse for the environment than me, but I'm driving a slightly more polluting car, although driving it less, which would mean, why don't you just stick it on fuel? Stick it on diesel.
Do away with the tax.
Yeah, because it doesn't really make any sense. I mean, like the idea being, I mean, the worst is if you compare the first rates for brand new cars, A is 0, M is 1,100. But they're saying this is sort of saying, well, if you drive a BMW i3, which brand new is over £30,000, you are going to pay less road tax than a guy that buys a 1978 Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow in Jimmy Savile Brown and doesn't really drive it more than 3,000 miles a year. He'll pay more than you. I know which one I'd want to drive.
Yeah.
You know.
Without the cliched history, but
without the connection to Jimmy Savile, Jimmy Tarbuck, Bruce Forsyth. Who else would own a shit? Cannonball. They don't have Silver Shadow.
Little and Large.
Paul Daniels.
Yeah.
Jim Davison. Anybody who had spent the summer at the end of the pier entertaining the audience in the 1970s, Bernie Winters would have driven a Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow.
Lenny Bennett.
I think he had a lot, Lenny Bennett. Didn't Lenny Bennett write a song for the Small Faces? Oh no, I'm thinking of Lenny. Oh no, I'm thinking of another Lenny. Lenny Bennett. Oh, that's a name. Is he still alive?
I don't know. I might look that up in a bit.
Lenny Bennett, the host of Celebrity Squares in the UK.
Yeah.
Right, it's all coming back to me. So I don't know the host in America, but in the UK we had the UK version, which was not
Lenny Bennett.
And Lenny Bennett was the host of that. Wow. Right.
Should we move on?
Yes, please do.
Kerry 341 from County Kerry, funny enough, which is in Ireland, says, top of the morning to you, the Car-Boyz. Should you buy a car from Northern Ireland before Brexit officially kicks in? Oh dear, another Brexit question.
Sorry to disturb you. Lenny Bennett passed away in 2009.
Oh no.
Suffered a heart attack in 94 and he died in 2009. Yeah.
But still remembered on Car-Boyz.
He is. There you go, Lenny. Going strong, mate. Live forever. Okay. Right.
Brexit.
This is
age-old question. Brexit.
This is a difficult one because if this wasn't Southern Ireland, you'd have a different story. The answer to this question is yes, and it's also no. The roads in the south, and I don't care what people in the south tell me, they're shite. They're bloody awful. They are terrible. Lots of potholes. Roads in the north, in Ulster, in Northern Ireland, are far more roadworthy. But like J-Lo, it's just that there's never the investment in the roads in Southern Ireland. And they have extended the motorway out of Dublin to almost Cork. So you can drive it now, but you never used to be able to. Used to be easier to fly out. Used to be all A roads everywhere. Get off the big roads. The roads are potholed. They're really potholed. But, and like J-Lo, it's a big but. You have to register your car in the Republic, which is going to cost you money and can be a bit of a headache.
Okay.
It's called Vehicle Registration Tax, or VRT. It's a tax you must pay when you first register a car in Southern Ireland. If you've imported the vehicle, you must pay VRT and receive the vehicle's registration certificate showing you paid the VRT. Now, she has got a point. You see, Brexit kicks in. We're in this transitioning period. Unlike most of our listeners, I would guess. I don't think they're in any transitioning period. I don't think we're targeting that audience, to be honest. But if you are, welcome. Up to the 31st of December of this year, there's a transitioning period. So she can bring the car with no extra import duties into Southern Ireland from Northern Ireland. It's going to change in 2021. If you want to get a car from Northern Ireland, do it quick. I've not really thought about this. That it's the grief. If you can get away with the grief of re-registering everything, it's going to be worth it. But I nearly bought a Hyundai from Southern Ireland, and my buddy said, before you do, get underneath it and have a look at the torch, and the exhaust was dented to F. The side of the car was heavily dented, and then you've got rust happening because it's broken all the under seal off. Yeah, there's a lot of bad roads down there, so it might be a good idea. I don't know whether she's going to make any money. I tell you, you know, if she wants to go ahead, do it. What's going to be interesting is when we do get completely Brexit from Europe, whether a lot of people in Northern Ireland will be buying their cars from Southern Ireland. Because do you remember the sort of 20, 30 years ago, a lot of people in the UK used to go to Holland and Germany and buy right-hand drive, not European left-hand drive, right-hand drive cars, and drive them back and save cash.
Yeah. You might be onto something there.
Right, finally, we've got JLS 42. I'm sure they're not 42. They live in Paris. They want a small. It doesn't say it's a man or a woman. See, we are appealing again to the LGBTQF community. They live in Paris. They want a small car, perfect for commuting. Must be very small. They've only got a small place to park in Gay Paris. What do the Car-Boyz suggest? Their budget is €4,000. Simon, what do you reckon?
I was thinking, I don't know if they still sell it. It was called the Renault Twingo.
Oh, yes.
The little cutesy little city car.
They do. The old one was really ugly, but they've had a new one.
Yes, because the old one looked like it was crying. It had these round lights with like bags, which were the indicators underneath them. It looked like it was crying.
Yes. White lived in France at the same time, and she hated that car. Renault Twingo, the new one, or probably would get a new one for €4,000.
Yeah,
it's quite good money. Smart car, the two-seater,
yes.
A good idea. That's a very small platform. The IQ is good. Now, depending on the place to park, the Toyota IQ is very wide. It's as wide as an ordinary
like
car.
a washing machine.
Yes, but it's like square. It is like a washing machine, but it's not very deep. So maybe now I thought about this. I love messing around on YouTube. How about a Renault Twizy?
Oh yeah, I remember
which is electric and is registered as a quad bike.
Okay.
But they come with no heater. So apparently you do need to get a plug-in car
fan
for your butt. Gee whiz, if you really hate yourself.
Yes.
I'd stick Japanese. Suzuki Alto, Honda Jazz, Toyota Aygo. You're in that sort of territory. So it's a good budget. Although you do have to be careful now with central Paris, because I didn't realise this until we covered a news report at work the other day that the centre of Paris have got charges for like a congestion charge, the same as London.
Okay, yeah.
How the French love a diesel polluting car, so how encompassing that is, I do not know.
And some wine.
Lenny, what was his name? Lenny
Bennett.
Lenny Bennett did not write Sha-la-la-la-lee by the Small Faces. That was Kenny Lynch. But I bet you Kenny Lynch also had a Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow.
Yep.
I'm going to do a quiz, or shadow or no shadow. This is what we should do with a quiz. Shadow or no shadow. Did this person drive a Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow? I think that. What do you think? Do you think we could?
We could get a quiz out of that. Yeah.
I think we could definitely get a quiz out of that.
Speaking of quizzes.
Well, like a case of the clap, a bad penny, or another rerun of Top Gear on the Dave TV channel, the pub quiz is back on Car-Boyz!
Woohoo!
Hang on, I've got to get the audience. Come on, audience! There they are. Yay! Enough. Right. Yes, the pub quiz is back on Car-Boyz. We've got pickled eggs, a dartboard, filthy toilets, and a fight in the car park. Everything you'd require for that traditional British pub. And what would a traditional British pub be without the sex and the disabled toilets? No, I'm only joking. Of course, a pub wouldn't be a pub without a traditional pub quiz. This week, despite failing miserably to have a dry January, we welcomed a young man straight back from the world tour of northern Spain. Simon, welcome to the studio. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. How are you?
Super smashing great. This week, we are giving you the chance to walk off with a jar of pickled eggs, a toaster, and a hostess trolley, and of course, insurance from Sun Life and this free Parker pen. I've turned it into Michael Parkinson. Right, it's Car Quiz 2. That's what we've got for you. The Revenge. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Starting off, question 1. The N4 road is the national primary road in which country? It's the main road in which country? The N4.
N4.
N4. Go on.
I'm going to take a punt at.
Punt is sort of a good clue. Oh,
I might change the answer there. I was going to say France, but from that I might go for Ireland.
Ah, yes, you're right. It's Ireland. Ireland, the main road out of Dublin, is the N4.
Ooh.
Question 2. The headquarters of Fiat is in which Italian city?
Fiat. So Fiat, of course, were the parent company for Ferrari, but Ferrari's in Maranello. I'm going to take a guess at... Is it Turin?
Oh, well done. Of
Ooh.
course, who could forget that classic film, The Italian Job, where the Minis drive round almost pooing on the work of Fiat, the Fiat factory in Turin.
Yes.
Which vehicle model is the Evoque? Which vehicle model is it? Basically, who makes the Evoque?
That's Land Rover.
Well done.
Or is it Range Rover? Land Rover or Range Rover?
It's Range Rover, but we'll take that. It's the same flipping company.
Yeah.
Here we go. This you will not get this one. And for our international listeners, we do apologise for the next question. What colour was the Dormobile in the TV show Ever Decreasing Circles? Starring Richard Bryars.
I remember Richard Bryars and Penelope Keith, I think, was in there.
No,
Felicity Kendall.
Felicity Kendall, yes.
Penelope Keith, I think, was the neighbour. Okay. You are getting mixed up. I'm going to take a deep breath.
This is Ever Decreasing Circles. This is not
The Good Life.
He was married to Penelope Wilton. Ever Decreasing Circles.
What colour was the vehicle?
A Dormobile. No, I didn't know this.
Oh, that's right. He lived next door to Howard and Hilda.
Yes, who were the match. Which is what my wife and me say to each other if we both get dressed and come out wearing clothes slightly
similar.
We're looking like Howard and Hilda, and one of us, usually me, will have to go and change.
I'm going to take a guess at it was 80s. So what colours were 80s? Brown.
I'm afraid it was pale blue, but you're in the right territory. Which automobile manufacturer was the first to produce more than 10 million vehicles per year?
10 million vehicles per year?
First automobile manufacturer to produce more than 10 million vehicles per year, and it was in the year 2012.
Ooh, I can
give you a clue.
10 million vehicals.
Would you
Far
like
Eastern?
Joker? Oh yes.
I think the only company it's a 50% chance here. I'm going to go with either Honda or Toyota. Toyota got money, so I'm going to go with Toyota.
You are correct. It was Toyota. Well done. Hang on. Yes, they may not have the racing pedigree of Honda, but they did make more than 10,000 vehicles per year in the year 2012. Moving swiftly on, Kia Motor Corporation is South Korea's second largest automobile manufacturer, but which is the first?
Korean. That's probably Hyundai.
Well done. It is Hyundai. Now, this is where it gets confusing. Hyundai is the first largest manufacturer, but as of 2013, Kia is 34% owned by Hyundai.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether the Korea has a monopolies commission, but they need to be informed of that. Okay, number 7. Lada is the mark of a car manufactured by which country?
Lada was.
You got to get this right.
No, I've got to get this right. It was Skoda that was Czech. So Lada was. Was it not Russian?
It was indeed. Yes, the Lada was produced near the Urals in Russia, and it's still going to this day. I think the last Lada. I think the Lada Niva may still be created.
I think you're right.
In Russia. Okay. Question 8. Which car brand includes? This. I don't know who did this quiz. Oh, it was me. Which car brand includes the Defender and the Discovery? Now, you saw.
Land Rover.
No. Yes, it was. It was, yes. The other one was the Range Rover, of course, but we're still going to give you that. The Adam, the Cascada, and the Insignia are produced by which car manufacturers? And the Lynx Africa. No, I'm joking. The Adam, the Cascada, and the Insignia are produced by which car manufacturer?
The Adam gives it away. I'd say that's. I'd go with Vauxhall, not Opel. I'll go Vauxhall.
Yeah, you're correct. It was the Vauxhall. Unfortunately, yes, they didn't produce the Lynx Africa at all, which is rather a shame. Insignia, terrible name. Wasn't the Insignia also the rebranded name of the post office? for a while.
Oh no, it was consignia, wasn't it?
Oh, was that consignia? Because I did see
Yes.
sprayed on the side of a post office van, or actually written in the dirt on the side of a post office van. Links Africa for taking the mickey. Right, again, outside of this country, it's all Axe. They have no idea that we're taking the mickey
exactly.
out of male spray brands. So we're making a joke about the Axe brand, which in the UK is called Insignia. Anyway, moving on. No, question 10. The Leaf is the best-selling highway-capable all-car electric produced by... Yeah, who produces the Leaf?
That would be Nissan. The
Yes,
Nissan.
all right. How many rings are in the Audi logo?
There would be 1, 2, 3, 4 plus the one driving.
Yay! No, that's just a tool. As a tool driving. Right. If you are using M&S tyres, what do the letters stand for? M&S tyres.
Marks and Spencer's. I never did
I was going to say yes. St.
M&S
Michael. You know tyres, Simon. M&S tyres.
M&S tyres.
Come on, this is the first time. If you get this right, this is the first time we're going to have a quiz where one of us has got all the questions right, and proving the fact that we are a brand of authority about the.
No, I haven't. I got the Richard Bryars one wrong, so it's not.
Oh damn! All right, doesn't matter then.
M&S.
M&S. Yeah, but it's an acronym for something. Do not think of it as an
abbreviation of something.
It's an abbreviation for 2 words. It's not a brand.
M&S.
What could it mean? What could it mean?
I don't know. That's beaten me.
M&S, not Marks and Spencer's, not M&S tyres. It's Mud and Snow.
Oh, okay.
But you got a grand total of... Your grand total was 10 out of 12, which is the best we've done for a while. Thank you very much for taking part in the quiz. We're sending you home in your body weight in Scotch eggs, a tin of Watney's Party 7, and a used urinal cake fresh from the men's toilet. All the things you could want. We have overrun. We're at 1 hour 6 minutes. That's it from this week on the Car-Boyz. I've got to go and pick the kids up from school, and then we're going to Scouts.
Oh, nice.
Well, not Scouts. I think it's called Beavers. Yeah, I know. Filthy name, really. And again, maybe that's something more American than English. That's it from me. Email the Car-Boyz at car-boys@outlook.com. Car-boys@outlook.com is the email address. We will endeavour to answer your questions, be they car-related or not. Facebook, we are on car-boys at Car-Boys with 4 Z's at the end. Facebook, we are car-boys with a Z at Car-Boys. 4 Z's at the end. We are twittering away as well. We can't get enough of the Twitter. We're car-boys at car_boys. Instagram, Simon, what are we?
Car_boys with 3 Z's.
With 3 Z's. Always the underscores with the Instagram. Remember, Twitter is the filthy one. Instagram is the clean one. Get lost, get a life, and we'll see you next week. Coronavirus free, we hope. Bye-bye.
Bye.